Good morning, everybody. Perhaps it's not morning where you are, but it is for me. And it was very hot in the week, wasn't it? Did you notice it? Ever so hot. And I remembered that lady in David Copperfield, Mrs. Gummidge. You all read about it, I expect. And she said, was grumbling. And somebody said to her, well, it's bad for everybody, Mrs. Gummidge. But she said, but I feels it more. And that's how I felt last week. So hot. And on Sunday afternoon, I went round out for tea, and I sat in the garden, and it was so hot. And there was a little baby, you all know him, Freddie Francis, playing around. And I was envious of the baby. Fancy being envious of a baby, because he had a paddling pool, and he could put his feet in the cold water. And how I wished I could put my feet in that paddling pool. And I started to think when I got home, and years ago, quite a few years ago, my son Tim bought me a water spa. Do you know what I mean? A big thing that you can put your feet in, and it makes a swirling noise and washes your feet. And Tim used to come over and he'd say to me, do you want your feet washed, Mum? Of course, all that's finished now with his having to stay home. We can't do it anymore. And I thought, oh, I would have loved to have put my feet in that spa again after all these years. And then I remembered the Lord Jesus. Do you remember he went to a house one night and somebody came, a lovely lady came and washed his feet in ointment and dried his feet with a hair of her head. And he must have enjoyed it so much because somebody grumbled, didn't they? That was Judas. There's always somebody to grumble. But anyway, he said that would never be forgotten, and we know about that. And then a little while afterwards, at the Last Supper, Judas was there at the Last Supper. It says all the disciples were there, and the Lord Jesus was there, and he was talking to them. And he must have suddenly remembered, I reckon, how Mary had washed his feet. And he thought to himself, the Lord Jesus, they all need their feet washed, it's so hot. And so, as you know, he took a towel and he girded himself with a towel and washed their feet. How wonderful that must have been. Now, Judas knew what he was going to do that night, and so did the Lord Jesus, and Judas was one of them. And I wondered how well the Lord Jesus would have washed Judas's feet that night. And I've got a feeling, you know, that he took more trouble washing Judas's feet than he did anybody's. Anyway, when it was over, he said, you go out and to Judas and do what you've got to do. Judas knew, and he knew. The rest of them didn't know, because they said, Lord, is it me? Is it me? But it was Judas, and he went out and he did that terrible deed that night that we all know about. And then after it was all over, the Lord Jesus said, you've seen what I've done. Now you ought to go out and do the same. You go out and wash one another's feet. And I read it again and I thought, can't do that, can I? I can't do that. But there is a way you can do it. You can send a little letter to somebody who's lonely, or a telephone call to somebody who's on their own, or have somebody round for a little cup of tea. And that will be the same. The Lord Jesus said, the servant is not greater than his master. If the Lord Jesus can do it, in his darkest hour, surely we can do it too. Thank you. Goodbye.